Hi, this is Amy from Fried Technology, and I am here with Brooke. Brooke, say hi to
Hey,
everybody.
everybody.
And we are here today to talk about the admin console, the new promotion from Google, and a couple of other questions that you guys had. You might remember that we were hoping that our colleague Mike was going to be able to join us today and give us some deeper insights into the admin console, but he had a family emergency come up this afternoon, and so he's made sure that we know everything we need to share with you. So we're feeling pretty good about this. If you do have questions that we can't answer, then we will get those answers back to you later. So you can still ask those via email or in the chat, which Brooke is going to be monitoring today. So if you're watching this video on YouTube live and you catch this at any point live today, you're going to be able to ask questions through the chat to the right of the video. So don't forget that that option is there. All right, I'm going to screen share with you so that you can see the agenda for today. Whether you're watching this live or you're going to watch it later, you might want some of the links that are in the agenda. So in your browser, if you will type in fried.tech/admin-cp, then you will be able to see this agenda and click any of the links that are in here. This will also be archived on your CDW internal page. And if when I say that you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to email me or Brooke. I'm Amy at friedtechnology.com. And Brooke is BROOKE at friedtechnology.com. And we will hook you up with the Fried Technology internal CDW page. You do have to have a login for that because there's some confidential information in there, but hopefully a lot of things that you might need. All right, so hopefully you are looking at the agenda with us now and you'll be able to see these links. And I want you to notice that there is a form for new colleagues to sign up for future webinars. We have had a couple of new teams join us lately. So if you guys are watching this and your colleagues haven't seen it yet, hopefully you'll recommend it after you see this episode and they can sign up with this link to be a part of future webinars. That'll just give us the information we need to put them on our list. All right, we are going to work through answering some questions that you guys have asked today, and we're just going to go through what you put into the form because there's a lot of really great questions in here. So this person said, being newer to K-12, I'm excited to see the demo tour of the G Suite console. So I'm going to go ahead and skip over now to the G Suite console and just kind of show you the sort of big picture of what that looks like. We had a great conversation with Ashley Zimdars this morning, and she said, you know, I talk to customers about this all the time, but I don't really know what it looks like. And they ask me questions, and I don't even really know what to tell them. So she makes a good point. I mean, this is something that hopefully you are talking to customers about a lot. So this is the first page that admins see when they log into the G Suite admin console. And through here, this is how they're going to control their entire G Suite implementation. So for example, they can go into the apps section right here, and they can control what their users have access to through their district G Suite accounts. So if I want my users to have access to Drive and Docs, but not to have access to Gmail, which is actually really common, or not to have access to chats, also really common, then I can come in here and I can turn these services on or off. So over here on the left-hand side, this is another important sort of set of terminology for the G Suite console that you might want to be using with your customers. And that is this term, organizational units. And the reason why that's so important is because in a school district, students are going to be in a different organizational unit from staff. And what that's going to let G Suite admins do is turn services or tools on or off for different organizational units. So for example, oh, go ahead, Brooke.
I think that that's really an important point there because you will have people that will say, well, We have this turned off because our students can't handle it. And when I'm talking to teachers, I'm like, but that doesn't have to be that way. We can make it so that the responsible teachers have access to more things than the students. And as we work with the students, we can start turning other things back on when we've talked to them about it
Yes, this is a great point. And we see this in school districts all the time.
all the
We'll
time.
go and they say, well, we can't use Google Hangouts in our school district. And we say, why? Well, we didn't want the kids to use it. Well, it's a
Mhm.
misunderstanding on the part of their Google administrator that everyone has to have the same permission. So they came in here and they looked at these three dots and all they saw was turn on or turn off. Well, if we can just give them the language, organizational unit, and give them the idea that these are separate places where you can turn things on and off, then it can make a big difference for what services teachers are able to use. And then later on, like Brooke said, maybe you can also extend those services to students. So I think you probably, just by seeing the first page of this and seeing that one little section, can see that this is not a very complex looking system. I mean, Brooke, you went to a training at a conference before about it and went into that having no knowledge really at all of what this looked like. What did you think when you saw it at first?
I felt the same way, that it was organized in a way that you're semi-techie, or maybe those who feel intimidated when they get into things that look like it's going to require HTML coding or things like that. You can get in here and pretty easily be like, well, right now I want to work with users. So I'm probably going to click on the users category. I'm working with the new Chromebooks I've got. So I'm probably going to look at device management. And it's very easy to get in there. I mean, anytime I'm in there and I only know, a very limited amount of things, I feel pretty comfortable that when I click and I start adding, there's always little helpers, these little sentences that say, this is exactly what you're doing. And I'm pretty sure I'm not tearing apart fried technology at that moment. So that's always really nice.
Yeah, it's always nice when you could feel a little confidence about
Yes.
what you're doing. And yeah, I mean, for your admins who are coming over to Google and have never used this system before, there's so much help available in here. So there's a question mark on every page that you can click and get more information about what you're doing. But it is, honestly, most of it is pretty self-explanatory.
Mhm.
And the things that aren't, it's really great for admins to remember that they can search right up here. A lot of system administrators don't like to ask anyone else a question. They feel like, they're the system administrator and they're supposed to know everything already. But the truth is, none of us knows everything, and these things change all the time. So sometimes, though, it's more comfortable for them to ask in private and not have to ask another person. And so it's good that they
Right.
can come up here and type those questions.
Yeah, I know, just even with my personal domain name that I have through Google, like when I got my new Fossil watch and I needed to set up my device through my admin console there, I felt pretty confident being able to use the Google support page and going through my search menu in my admin dashboard, and didn't need to ask Mike. So I felt like that was pretty good.
That is good. I'm impressed. So, the places where your customers are probably going to care about the most is this device management, because by the time you're talking to someone about G Suite, they have either already purchased Chromebooks or they are planning to purchase Chromebooks. So, this is an important area for you to know about. And this really is the number one biggest selling point to system administrators about Chromebooks. And that is this: if they have come from an environment where they are managing iPads, for example, that has been very difficult for everyone because they have had to do a lot of touching devices, and it's time consuming, it's labor intensive. And the big selling point for Chromebooks is that they're going to do all of their management right through this system. So I don't have any Chromebooks assigned to this domain, so you don't see anything here. But if I had even one, then it opens up this area and I can log into one if you guys have any questions around Chromebook management. We have a domain that does have Chromebooks in it. But through here, system administrators are able to, they can push out apps if they want to. They can turn things on and off if they want to. They can determine what students are able to see and not see. They can determine even what happens to that device when it is turned off. So, for example, if they want to make that device wipe every time it turns off and have no user data on it after that at all, they can do that. But if they're doing a one-to-one program, they don't want to do that because the same student's going to be using that device every day. You don't want the whole profile to have to load through your network every single day. And you can see, like, if they do purchase Jamboards, they can manage that hardware through here. There's some simple mobile device management through here. It's not super sophisticated. It's not Jamf
No.
or anything like that. But you can have some control over your company's devices and over devices that are using your accounts through this console. So that's sort of the beauty of it. Brooke, can you think of anything else just at a high level that we need to talk about or touch on about how this admin console works?
I think that when we talk about the users, like we talked about the organizational units, another thing that a lot of schools talk about with their groups and their people is being able to manage users and groups. And with users also, especially in education, you're dealing with ladies and they get married and their last names change. And it's really easy in the dashboard for them to set up an alias account with their new married name and their previous name so that their emails all go to the same location. And I have heard people say that it's easier in the Google system and in the admin dashboard than some of the other services.
Yeah, I bet it is. Larger school districts are going to have this all synchronized with their Active Directory, which is probably
Mhm.
going to be the home for their information. But any small school district, and sometimes school districts even with 4,000 students, may not have that kind of automation set up. They may be doing this manually, and so how easy or hard this is to do is really, really important to them, because an individual person is actually having to rename these people or put in these aliases and all that kind of stuff. So Brooke's right, it becomes very important. Another element that you just reminded me of, Brooke, that's really important is the group management. So groups are really important for schools because, for example, a principal wants to email her whole staff, then she's going to have a group created, and those need to be created at the district level so that anyone who has permission to and wants to email that whole staff can do that. And that management is actually changing. I saw some of the new features today, and it is much better than it used to be. So now you're going to be able to do all of the management for those groups right through the admin console. You used to have to go out to another service to manage these, which didn't really make a lot of sense. But now you don't. So they're all managed right through here, and there's even more options coming soon. So you can add people to these groups, take them out of these groups. You can also add groups to other groups, which is a big bonus. It doesn't
Oh,
sound like
nice.
much, but yeah, but it's really important, isn't it? Because
Yep,
then
because
when you
sometimes I just want to email maybe just my social studies teachers or my third grade teachers, but then I don't want to have to create a whole nother group to send to the whole organization. So
right,
it's really nice.
exactly. Things like that get much more important than you initially think they're going to be when you start with something like this. All right. Well, if you guys have questions about that, please do send them our way, and we may come back to this in a moment. I'm just going back to our agenda and making sure that we cover everything that you ask about. All right. Our second question is about the new Google promotion. So if you're not already looking at our agenda, then I'd like you to go back over to that again. I'm going to screen share again and remind you of the link up there, fried.tech/admin-cp, because there is a new Google promotion. And this is really important for us, for you, and for your customers, and for your sales this quarter, and maybe even next quarter. And I'll explain to you why I think that's so important as we look at this presentation. So you guys probably heard me or Brooke or someone from Fried Technology talk about the white space promotion that just ended recently. I think we all did very well with that. Some of you guys really, really used that, like Stephen, Majid, if you're listening today or you watch this, thank you so much. You did such a great job of making sure that every customer you worked with knew about that promotion. And that helps us so much. And I feel like we were really able to help your school so much with that. So this is Google's new promotion, and this is sort of like the new white space, but it has a little bit different spin and a little bit different requirements. So the purpose of these promotions, you've probably already figured out. It's a tool to help schools who are implementing Chromebooks do that successfully, because what we know is that if people don't get professional development, they are not as happy with their devices. I mean, if you get a Chromebook in your hands and you've never seen one before and you don't know anything about G Suite, you could think it's a broken laptop, and it's
For
not.
sure.
But I mean, yeah, I've seen people before. Brooke and I have see
Mhm.
this a lot, where we go to a school where people have been given Chromebooks and they may not even know their Google login. They may be using those in guest mode, which just makes us want to cry because they're missing so much. And I always think about this one teacher who had had Chromebooks for 2 or 3 months, and she told me, these things would be so great if you could just right click. Well,
Right.
you can right click, but if you don't know that it's two fingers and no one's ever told you that, and you're not the kind of person who
Yep.
looks it up,
Yes, and
it's
looking for the caps lock as well.
yes, yes, where's the caps lock on this thing? So they're like, well, gosh, Google's kind of dumb. They didn't even think to put a caps lock on here. Well, it's there. It just works a little differently from other devices. So this is why it is so important. You are welcome to share this presentation with your customers so that they can kind of check us out and find out more about us. This link is fairly new, this fried.tech/why us. And it sort of explains our educational philosophy. This is really important to schools because they want to know that we're not going to waste their time. That's a big concern for people who are purchasing PD. How do I know that these people who I'm going to give this time to, the most precious thing I have, how do I know that these people are not going to waste my teacher's time? And sending them to this page and helping them see it through our perspective, this is how we see professional development. I think it gives them a lot more confidence in choosing us. And of course, as you guys know, getting us on the phone or in a WebEx or in a Google Hangout so that we can talk to people is critical, because they need to gain confidence in us before they make a choice to choose us for PD. And, we definitely understand that. So share this. All right, so this is how the promotion works. They have to have a proof of purchase. They have to have their invoice where they purchased the Chromebooks. And of course, we encourage everybody to purchase through CDW because we know that you guys will take care of them and you'll make sure they have all this information. But we have to be honest with people. It doesn't matter who they purchase the Chromebooks from, but they do have to buy a management license. So see, it says Chromebook and Chrome
And
Education
licenses.
license. Yes. So they can't just go to Best Buy or Walmart and buy Chromebooks. That will not get them into this promotion. Um, so the next thing they do is they're going to fill out this form. It's linked 2 different times on here. So hopefully everyone will be able to get to it. So they fill out this form, and on the next page, they see all of the different information they have to put in. They have to upload their invoice on this form. Um, and just give Google a little bit of information. Of course, we want them to pick professional development services. That's obviously what we're always going to push for. And then on the next page of this, it actually asks them to put their account manager's name. So make sure that, you know, they know your name, your first name and your last name, because if your name is Mike and you work at CDW, there might or might not be more than one person with that name. So you
Hey,
definitely want to make sure they know that. Yeah, go ahead, Brooke.
Amy, make sure we talk about the invoice processing and that it can be multiple invoices.
Oh, yeah, that's so important. And that's brand new too. All right, so this is what Brooke's talking about. When this first came out, the language sounded like they were only going to be able to turn in one invoice. And let me go to the table where it tells how many devices they have to buy so you can see why this is so important. So it looked like if they bought 5,000 devices, that would have to be on one invoice in order for them to qualify for this $18,000 custom PD level. And a few days after the promotion started, they came out and clarified that as long as the invoices are in between March 1st and July 31st, that's the current period, then they can do cumulative invoices. So if they have 10 invoices and each one of those has got 10 Chromebooks on there, then they can qualify for the 1,000 tier.
In a 30-day period. Right.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it can't be
Right.
the whole
No, I think
March.
it's within 30 days.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. So this gives you, though, a little bit of leverage as an account manager to encourage them to make their purchase quickly, which, you know, that matters sometimes if you can get somebody to move on something. So this is a real piece of leverage that you can use. If you're going to buy these, I really need you to do it this month in order for you to get the free PD. So hopefully that's helpful to you too. Um, let's see. K-12 schools are all eligible, US or Canada. I don't think we work with anyone from Canada, but just in case. They have to have their proof of purchase invoice. Has to have an equal number of Chromebooks and licenses. They can only do one order per year. So if they're doing a big Chromebook order in the summer, we want to make sure that it happens within that 30-day period. Now, Brooke, what do you think? If I buy Chromebooks in between March 15th and April 15th, then this is going to qualify, right? Because that's still a 30-day
Yes.
period. Okay.
Yes. 30-day period.
All right. So they just need to do it, in a timely manner. And if they're going to buy a
Mhm.
bunch of Chromebooks, I mean, this is really going to make it worth it for them to do this in that 30-day period. Notice also it says services must be used by November 2019. So that's really important because, we've got every PD partner has got a limited capacity, especially at the beginning of the school year. That's when everybody is going to want PD, summer and beginning of the school year. The sooner they do this and get on our books, the more likely they are to get the dates that they want. And when people are gone at the beginning of school year, they're just gone. We can't usually book more than a certain number of people because everybody's back in school during that time. So please remember this promotion. Go back to that presentation. If you have questions about it, feel free to let us know, and we'll be glad to get back to you as soon as we can. All right. This was a question that came in via your form. How does Google verify that customers don't have more than 100 Chromebooks currently active in their environment? And I think maybe that question is related to the white space promotion. I'm not
Maybe
sure.
so. Yeah,
Maybe.
'cause I don't think I've heard any stipulations on this one for how many devices they already have or licenses, but the white space did.
Yeah, I think so. And it could
Mhm,
be that a future promotion, makes this important again.
mhm.
And I went back over to the admin console for a purpose. And that is to tell you that, of course, Google has access to all of the Chromebooks that are joined to anybody's domain. And my page isn't loading right now, but there's a reports tab in here. So sometimes school districts don't know how many Chromebooks they have. If they've purchased licenses for everything, they can go into reports or device management and they can answer that question, how many Chromebooks do I have in my system? So that's why I left that question in there, regardless of the fact that it doesn't apply to this current promotion. Okay, so this person wants to see inside the console. Hopefully, we have satisfied that. If any of you guys would ever like to have a more in-depth tour of the console or get in there and play around for yourself, we do have a training domain that we would allow you to go into and take a look around in there if you'd like to do that. I know I like to just navigate around in something to learn. So if you ever wanted to take advantage of that, just let us know and we'll give you an account that will let you view that. All right. I was so glad that someone asked about Google Classroom. And at first, I didn't understand why. But as I started thinking about it, I really got why you asked that question. And it's because Google Classroom is how teachers manage their classroom, and the admin console is how admins manage the whole entire G Suite implementation. So you would go into the admin console to turn on Google Classroom. And then this gives teachers a little bit of control over their own learning environment in their classroom. And I think that's where that question came from. But at any rate, people ask this all the time, like what kind of options are my teachers going to have? So I've just opened up a classroom right now that's only got our training accounts in there so that if we do anything, it won't send anybody notifications. I wish that I could invite you guys at CDW to be in a classroom with us, but the way that it works, an organization has to have another domain whitelisted in order for you to join classes inside it. So our domain is wide open. If you wanted to use your Gmail address, you would be able to join our classroom. And you can see that there's a code sitting right up there. If you log in with your Gmail account, you go to classroom.google.com and you click the plus sign in the top right and join. You'll be able to type in that code and you can see this classroom if you would like to take a look at it. You'll be seeing it as a student. So classroom is a place where teachers interact with students. So that's an important thing to know about that. It is a learning management system, but it is made for synchronous learning. So that means that we're going to be in the same room together, or we're going to be seeing each other on a daily basis. And this is going to give us sort of that, fourth dimension or second space in our classroom to interact with each other. So what teachers do is they go into classroom and they post assignments. And as students are working on those assignments, teachers can actually watch them working. So Brooke, would you mind opening up, if you have this open right now, this Hyperslides lesson, opening up this slides page so that I can show them how I'm going to be able as a teacher to see you work?
Let me, um, the hyperslides lesson?
Yes, so it's
Okay.
the Burnett CISD Hyperslides lesson. And if my whole class were in here working right now, I would be able to see each of my students and I could see them working live. So if Brooke is able to pull this up, I sprung this on her at the last
It's
second
open
there.
now.
Okay. Then when she opens this up, I'm going to be able to go and look at her working on this assignment.
I'm gonna add a slide underneath slide 1.
And I wonder, are you in here as a teacher or a student?
I'm in as a student.
Let me see if I can find you. You know, it's takes so much internet to do these hangouts. Sometimes I click and nothing happens, but normally what would be happening, I can just click on this number 11 right here and it will show me each of my students and show them working, and
Oh, there I am.
I can actually watch them working live. Yeah, it's not as impressive when you can't actually see it, is it? Let me keep trying to show you because it really is kind of amazing. Oh, of course. My internet's not cooperating today. Well, you guys may have to take my word for it, or we can get in and you can take a look at this yourself later. I would like for you to see it. It's pretty amazing when you're actually looking at a file and you're watching your students interact. Okay, it's going to work now. Let me see. All right, Brooke, what slide are you on? Of course, I'll be able to tell if I let this all load which slide you're on, but
I'm on slide 2.
okay. So as soon as this presentation loads, I'm going to be able to see Brooke working in this slideshow. So here she is on slide 2, and she's added a picture. And Brooke, will you add some text to that?
I will.
So I'm looking at this through my teacher view. Brooke is interacting with it as a student. And as she adds things to it or changes it, I'm able to watch her make those changes live. All right, so there she is typing right over here. It shows me her name. It shows me exactly what she's typing. And if I go into File and Version History, I can actually see everyone who has typed on this file and when they typed and what they typed. So that's really important for classroom management because sometimes kids type things that they're not supposed to. Yeah, once in a while they do that. And I don't know if you can see in the Hangout, I think you can, but this little image of Brooke that has popped up on top of the slide lets me as the teacher know where she is. So for example, if I've told Brooke, I only want you to type on and work on slide number 2, and I go down here to the slide sorter and I see that Brooke is on slide number 6 on Douglas's slide, then I know that she's not where she's supposed to be, and I can redirect her back to the place where she's supposed to be. So I have some ability to see even without buying GoGuardian or Hapara or something like that. I have some ability to see what's happening live and what my students are doing. Brooke, what would you add about that? I feel like I'm leaving out important
No,
things.
I think that's exactly one of the great features of it as a teacher is that I can go in and I can see in real time what's going on in my classroom.
Yeah, totally
Because a
agree.
lot of times teachers are doing multiple things in their classroom at one time, so it kind of gives you eyes all the way around the room, even if you're working with another student.
Right. So it's kind of hard, I think, when you're selling GoGuardian to explain what the difference is here. But basically, GoGuardian, massively extends this functionality down to the level where, you can look at a student's screen, you can lock student screens. You can't do that through Google Classroom, but it does give you more of a view into what's happening on those devices in your classroom. So hopefully that answered the person who asked this question. Um, all right, let's go on to number 5. What are the most important features that we should be discussing or highlighting with our customers if they are not familiar with the console? And I think we talked about that a little bit. The device management is probably the number one thing that you're going to talk about there. The control that they're going to be able to have over apps and extensions is another really important thing. Brooke, what else do you hear people talk about regarding the admin console?
I really think with especially with the Chromebooks and the managed devices, that's the biggest piece because I know working with devices that weren't working through a console that way, anytime they needed an update, anytime we needed to load an app on a device, we had to touch every single device. And one of the great things about the Google dashboard is any managed device in that dashboard is going to update according to the updates that are set through the dashboard. Anything that's going to be pushed is going to go to every device that's managed. That's a huge time saver for teachers, for tech, everybody.
Right. Basically, there are no installs anymore.
No,
So if anybody's ever been through, a Microsoft Office update, then that's going to be really appealing to them because, you depending on your network, you may literally be around like plugging a hard drive into a machine to install software on it. And this
right.
is just a completely different mindset than that. All right. Are there apps or software that customers can pay for or download using the G Suite admin portal that we cannot sell to them here at CDW? And that question was a good question. And I thought, well, let's talk about the positive side of this too, what you can sell through CDW. Because I know there's a lot of new people on the team, and I wasn't sure if everyone was familiar with the Google Creative Suite. And the fact that you guys do sell this at CDW, and this is a pretty important thing for you to know about. So again, this link is in your agenda, and you'll be able to pull this up. And this is the Creative Suite, Creative Apps, and this is a bundle that customers can buy, and it includes some sort of extra apps that they can add into their G Suite domain. They can control through that domain, and they can give to whatever portion of their students and staff they want to. So if they want to say, all the students at XYZ Elementary are going to get Explain Everything, and we're going to pilot it there, then they can buy it just for that campus and just push it out to that organizational unit. So Explain Everything is pretty cool. It is, I mean, just what it says. Did you ever use this in your classroom, Brooke?
Um, I did, but not in the Android system.
Yeah,
It wasn't available on Chromebooks yet.
right. So you probably had it on iPads, huh? Yeah,
Yep,
I think it started out there and it was a big hit on iPads. And a lot of people don't realize that it's also available on Chromebooks, either through, I think you can get it through the Play Store or through the Chrome OS, either one. I think it can be
that's
pushed
great.
out both places. Yeah. So it's pretty cool because it lets kids sort of show what they're learning. And you can see, like in the screenshot, what's happening here. So it's a way for them to manipulate information and to create things in order to learn, which is really, really important. We Video is a company that we partner with, and this is a fully functional video editor that has connections to industry software. And what I mean by that is if students later on are going to go on and work in an Adobe product where they're video editing, this will get them learning things that later on will connect to that software. So it's like a baby school version of a professional video editor. Not that it's really very baby.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fully functional and
Mhm.
it's quite complex, actually. I think most educators who initially, when they see it, think it looks really hard. Kids don't seem to have as much trouble with
No,
it.
yeah. It's easy to navigate once you know where to click, which I know that sounds like, well, I could do anything if I know where to click, but it only takes a few minutes to figure out where to click in here. And then
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, that does make sense. Oh, now this is here and this is here, and I can make a great video.
yeah, it's cool what you can do with it. It's really
Mhm.
amazing. Like you see the kid flying in that picture. So there's green screen capabilities here, and all of the schools that have like an elementary school news program, they all want something that they can edit with that will let them use green screens because as we found out, you can just go buy a green
Yeah.
tablecloth at the party store, and that can be a green screen. It's like $1. And
Mhm.
yeah, I have a whole bunch of them in the trunk of my car for teachers who want to do green screen. So I think you figured that out, Brooke. It's a
Maybe
good,
so.
good find there. I'm pretty sure you did. All right. So We Video, that's another part of the creative suite. And then Soundtrap. Soundtrap is a tool that students or teachers can use to make podcasts, to do voice recordings. They can actually mix music, and this has connections to professional music mixing software. So I think you can see in the little GIF that's on the screen all the different tracks that are in there. It has built in like if you want a drum beat that goes solid throughout your piece that you're making, you can pull in that drum beat and repeat it over and over again. You can control the tempo. So this is not just used in music class. A lot of subject area teachers now are figuring out that they can integrate music and recording into their subject area classes. And we're all competing with Apple when we're selling Chromebooks. So talking about these creative things is very important because this is what Apple's talking about. So we've got to make sure we're talking about it too, and not just productivity. So this is the URL for this presentation. This is case sensitive. So that CDW is capitalized, Creation Tools CDW. You can also share that with your clients, and there's a link to that presentation right here. But back to the question. The question was, are there apps and software that we cannot sell at CDW? And I'm going to say that you cannot sell the tool from Text Help called Read and Write, which is really important to our work. We work with this company a lot. They are sole source and they do not allow resellers that I'm aware of. But it's still something we should be talking about to customers because they need to know that things like this work on a Chromebook. So, what Read and Write does is it lets students read aloud, so hear read aloud the text that is in a Google Doc or on a PDF. That's one of the many, many features that it has. What else can you think of, Brooke, that they might want to know about that Read and Write does?
Um, there are some highlighting tools that the teachers like quite a bit with Read and Write
Yes,
because then they can build personal dictionaries.
yes. I just learned about that recently. That ability to create that vocabulary list. Jessica just
Yes.
showed me that a couple of weeks ago. So you can create vocabulary list from it. So, for example, students can get a highlighter and they can highlight different words in their text that they're looking at using these highlighters, and then they can create a picture dictionary from the words. There's also a prediction tool. So, if a student is trying to type a word but they don't know how to spell it, it will show them different options as they type so that they can figure out what word they mean.
Oh,
I
I
don't
hadn't
know.
seen that one.
Oh, yeah? Okay,
Mhm.
so let's say if I want to type through, but I don't know how to spell it. So I can start typing and it will show me all of the words that match as I type. And as I move my mouse over them, then it will say the words to me so that I can tell which word it is that I'm trying to find.
That's
So,
really awesome. I have
yeah,
not
it's
seen
pretty
that
cool.
part of it.
Well, there's so much in read and
Yeah.
write that, I mean, you can really work on this tool for weeks, and it's very important tool for education. The other tool that you guys don't sell that I'm sure that you could sell if you wanted to, but you don't sell it now is Screencastify. And this is another company that we work closely with that we really love. And this is a tool that we share with every teacher we come into contact with, every administrator too. So, what this tool does, it is an extension in the Google ecosystem. Extensions live up here to the right of this long white box. It's called the Omni box, and these are extensions. So they add functionality into the Google ecosystem. And what this particular one does is it lets me record my screen and my voice at the same time. So teachers can give directions with this. They can read passages. I mean, there's just no end to the things that teachers can do with a screencast. And likewise, students can use screencast to show their learning. So not everything anymore needs to be text on a piece of paper for teachers to know that students understand. And that's called differentiation when we're asking students to explain and show their learning in different ways. And so this is a important tool for differentiation. You can sound real fancy when you say that. All right. Well, I think that we have answered the questions that you guys have asked from your agenda. I hope you have follow up questions later when more of you get back to watch this webinar. And if you do, please let us know what they are because we love to hear from you and that these productions make a difference to you. So, Brooke, can you think of anything else we need to add before we sign off today?
No, I think that's great. I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say now that you have definitely seen the console. Because I know I've talked to several account managers about the console in the past, and I really think that that's going to help being able to have seen that.
Yeah, me too. And if ever you guys want a more in depth look at it, let me know. We can always circle back again with Mike and have him go into it in a more in depth way. We would just need to gather your questions in advance so that we understand exactly what you're looking for. Or we could set up something general if you're just like, I just want to see more in depth how the console works. We'd be glad to do that. So, thanks to those of you guys who watched, and be sure to keep in touch with us at Fried Technology, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. So, bye bye.
Goodbye.